welcome to this webinar from the Open University and the 5% Club for National Apprenticeship Week 2024. I'm Phil Kenmore, Director of Corporate Development and Partnerships from the Open University. I'd like to start by introducing my co-host, Jill Cronin. Jill, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, thanks, Phil. Jill Cronin, Director of Ops at the 5% Club, and delighted to be working again with Open University and again doing something during National Apprenticeship Week. It's great to be here.
Fantastic. Thanks, Jill. Appreciate it. Secondly, I'd like to introduce Kate Dennis from North Yorkshire Police. Kate, would you like to introduce yourself?
Thank you very much, Phil. Certainly. So my name's Kate Dennis. I am a temporary talent development partner working within the Enable NY function, which covers North Yorkshire Police and North Yorkshire Fire and Rescue.
Brilliant. Thank you, Kate. Appreciate it. And last but not least, I'd like to introduce Jagdeep Saur from the Multicultural Apprenticeship Alliance. Jagdeep, over to you.
Thank you, Phil. It's wonderful to be here and thank you for the opportunity. My name is Jagdeep Saur. I'm Head of Strategic Partnerships at the Pathway Group, looking after our multicultural initiatives, including the Multicultural Apprenticeship Alliance and the Multicultural Apprentice Network.
Fantastic. Thanks, Jagdeep. So welcome, as I said, to this apprenticeship webinar. We're going to talk today about how apprenticeships can enable career changes. And this is part of our focus on National Apprenticeship Week for 2024. We've got a structure with 3 or 4 sections. We're going to talk about different areas of apprenticeship development for career changes. And between Jill and I, we're going to shift smoothly between hosting one section to another. So I think, Jill, we're going to start with you.
You are, Phil, and in fact I'm going to start off getting this going with asking you a question. I think a lot of people will be familiar with the Open University's annual Business Barometer report. What is that saying about, what's the latest one saying about long-term skill shortages that affect all sectors, and what's that telling us about the skills landscape?
Brilliant, thanks, Jill. Yeah, so the Business Barometer is a report that the Open University do every year in partnership with the British Chambers of Commerce. It's a 4 nations report, and we survey businesses across the whole of the UK to find out the challenges around their skills gaps. What was interesting about the latest one was that 73% of businesses, both large and small, it covers all different sizes of businesses, 73% of businesses said they had some fairly significant skills gaps that were affecting their ability to do business. And that ranged from things like affecting the quality of their outputs, affecting their ability to recruit and retain talent, obviously, but also affecting their ability to drive profit and drive growth because their skills gaps are impacting their ability to do their business in a normal way. So it's interesting that what we know about from that is that apprenticeships are one of the key things for driving retention and recruitment. And actually, the Business Barometer does show that the way people invest specifically for certain types of skills is really important to do that.
Thanks, Phil. Jagdeep, you and I are old hands at this, as I interviewed you in our employer audit symposium last November. So if I could ask you, I know your knowledge and your breadth of knowledge is fantastic. Are there certain cold spots in the country where the problems are more acute? And can you tell us a bit more about that?
Thank you, Jill. Yeah, I mean, there are certain cold spots. So research suggests that around 40% of current workers in the UK don't have the right qualifications for their job. That's either being unqualified or overqualified. As well as this, there's an estimated 20% of the workforce which will be significantly underskilled for their jobs by 2030. And just sort of looking at, for an example, I was just looking at the Department of Work and Pensions and West Midlands Combined Authority place-based plan. And some of the figures that were coming out of there are very stark, particularly around sort of the West Midlands and other areas. And I know Kate will be talking about what's happening in sort of the Yorkshire region. But if you just look at the West Midlands overview, it's the lowest employment rate out of the 10 combined authorities, which is 70.3%. It's the highest unemployment rate of the 10 combined authorities at 6.5%. And it's the 3rd highest working age economically inactive rate behind the North of Tyne and North East at 24.7%. And there's a whole host of reasons on why that is the real issue. But that's sort of just giving you a flavour really of the West Midlands Combined Authority region. And there's a number of reasons why there are skills gaps. So there's the increased digitalisation that's really having an impact, particularly around sort of post-COVID and the remote working and hybrid working patterns. Brexit has had a real sort of impact, and I don't see we've seen the sort of full force of Brexit really in terms of the skills gap. And then that real inequality, which is what the Multicultural Apprenticeship Alliance is about, is that sort of increased equity of opportunity and accessibility of opportunity. So when it comes to sort of the digital skills gaps, for example, young people from low socioeconomic backgrounds are at a disadvantage. And this is due to lack of access. So that digital poverty or digital access is a real issue as well. And there's also sort of certain employment sectors that are really being impacted because of the reasons that I've just identified. So manufacturing, so the automotive manufacturing industry is really going to be effective, particularly around sort of the government's target of getting rid of diesel engines by 2035, which sort of they extended that by 5 years, and then that sort of skills gap in terms of what happens in the automotive industry. Health and social care, as we all know, there's a massive skills gap and also a shortage of workforce within that sector. Business and finance, engineering and digital, which is what we sort of found are the sort of the main sort of skills gap employment sectors.
Brilliant, thank you. And you alluded to the fact that Kate's going to be a complete expert on North Yorkshire. So Kate, what does the skills landscape look like in North Yorkshire and across the organisations you work with?
Brilliant, thank you, Jill. So yeah, very well introduced there. I don't know about being an expert on North Yorkshire, but I live and work in North Yorkshire. So I think for us, with North Yorkshire being one of the biggest counties in England, it is very challenging because we're made up of cities, towns, but then we've also got vast rural areas in between as well. So it makes it very challenging to reach out to them certain areas. Although it's very large, our demographics for the communities that we serve, we are predominantly 96% white area, which obviously makes it difficult for us to attract people from more diverse backgrounds. But on the flip side of that, we do have pockets of communities within North Yorkshire. So we've got the York University, which attracts 27% of their students from outside of the country, from 150 different plus countries as well. So we've got communities within North Yorkshire that we could obviously need to represent from a workforce point of view. We've got the coastal tourist attractions and things like that as well. And obviously the main tourist attractions around York and the rural areas as well. So although statistically we're not very diverse on paper, we do have to represent the communities that we serve. So this means that we need to reflect them communities within our workforces. So that's the same from the fire and rescue point of view and also from the North Yorkshire Police point of view as well. So we work really closely with our positive action team and make sure that we reach out to them areas and tap into where people maybe working for an emergency service wasn't their ideal career choice. So that's something that we need to focus on as well. And then once people we've attracted them, we do have support networks and groups within both organisations as well and across all the services to support people once they're in. So for us, it's difficult because we are seen as not a very diverse county, but we need to obviously tap into them different areas and make sure that we're attracting people to represent the communities that we do have.
Brilliant. Thanks, Kate. That was actually a really interesting overview. Phil, on our last section on scene setting, why is it important to approach these issues strategically?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. It seems like an obvious thing to do it strategically, but of course it's much harder for businesses to do that than it sometimes seems, particularly small and medium businesses who may have less resources available to do some sort of strategic thinking. The really important reason why we should do these things strategically is because you've got to plan ahead for the skills gaps. I mean, it's quite difficult for businesses and organisations to adapt in an agile way around skills gaps. We know what some of the skills gaps are that have been, in the economy for quite some time. And Jagdeep mentioned a couple, digital, leadership, management, for example, things like that come up time and time again. Certainly in the business barometer report that we do. But of course, if you don't plan ahead for those skills gaps and think about what the levels of skill you need in each of those areas are, if you're not doing that strategic planning, then it's going to be really difficult to plan ahead for how you attract and retain talent, develop your talent from within, as well as attract talent out from outside and build that talent up. because most of the talent, of course, that you will attract won't come ready-made. You'll need to bring people in and develop their skills within the business quite often. It also, and I think, Kate alluded to this really, it can take time to attract different talent pools. And if you want to attract different types of talent pools to your organisation to reflect the communities that you work in, for example, it takes quite a bit of time to build up the trust and communication with those communities and to attract those talent pools into your organisation and then begin to build a pipeline of talent through the organisation. And that's another reason why, planning strategically gives you that timeline of 2 or 3 or 4 years, of course. And finally, the obvious point, you've actually got to get the skills levels to the point that you want them to be most useful to the business. And that also takes a bit of time. So there's a number of reasons why you want to be thinking ahead and planning this strategically. So I think what we're going to do now, I'm just a little bit of a segue there. I think from saying that, I'm going to move on to the next section, I think, Jill. So thanks for that. So the section we're going to talk about next is actually about the power of career changes within our organisations and within our communities. Kate, I wonder if we could start with you and maybe talk a bit about why it's vital to engage career changes in particular to fill skills gaps, and what maybe examples you've got from the North Yorkshire, the Enable NY experience that you've been working in.
Brilliant, thank you. Firstly, I'll probably explain what Enable NY is, just for those that don't know. So Enable NY is the function between North Yorkshire Police, North Yorkshire Fire and Rescue, and the Office of the Police Fire and Crime Commissioner. So we've got various functions within the service, which are kind of like tri-service functions. So we've got the people services, or HR as it's probably known. We've got the IT function, which work across all services as well. And we've got finance and assets, which are the estates and transport side of it. So they work across fire and police. So I'm employed by North Yorkshire Police, but I also cover North Yorkshire Police, North Yorkshire Fire and Rescue, and also the OPFCC, just to explain what Enable is for those that aren't aware of it. So from our point of view, within that means that we've got various different apprentices and apprenticeships running. So within the policing side of it, the College of Policing introduced the Policing Education Qualifications Framework, or PEQF, because we love an acronym. So all of that means that we've got police constables joining on different degree or different apprenticeships. So the one that we mainly have is the Police Constable Degree Apprenticeship, or the PCDA, because again we abbreviate everything. So there are other entry routes available as well, but that means that all of our officers study towards the degree level, and they also gain within that the valuable leadership skills that we're looking for our next leaders within the organisation. So by them doing their PCDA, their Police Constable Degree Apprenticeship, we are gaining valuable police officers that we need, obviously, to police the communities, but we're also developing our leaders of the future. So they're coming in, but then they've got that opportunity to progress through the different rank structure within the policing family. So there's lots of development there from a career point of view and a progression point of view. We've also got our police community support officers, or PCSOs, who work towards an apprenticeship as well. And that qualification has actually been mapped across the PCDA, which means that if they wish to become a police officer in the future, they wish to progress from the PCSO role to become a police constable, that opportunity is there, and they've already mapped that qualification across, so they've already achieved some of the degree that they would need to do going forward. So they're two of the pathways for progression and obviously career development as well. We've also got a number of staff members as well who are doing apprenticeships, and we actively encourage progression for them. So progressing into permanent roles or developing within the organisation, and we champion them because obviously they bring new ideas to the service and obviously new approaches as well. So it's about getting them in, encouraging them, developing them, and then obviously looking at the next steps on their career ladder. We also invest in our existing staff members as well. So it's not just about new apprentices coming in. We have some existing substantive staff members who are doing apprenticeships. So we're doing that to enhance their skills that they've already got, give them a formal qualification, give them the recognition and show value in obviously the roles that they're doing, which will then also increase their career prospects within the team or within obviously the organisations as a whole. And by doing all of that, we actually make full use of our apprenticeship levy every month. So we are utilising the apprenticeship levy in all the different pathways and different apprenticeships that we offer across the service, and to police officers and staff as well.
Wow, brilliant. Thanks, Kate. That's fantastic examples there. Lovely acronyms as well. But it's great to hear about the different progression pathways and also the full use of the levy, which is a fantastic thing, which not everybody achieves. So it's really good to hear that. Jill, I might just turn back to you for a second, if that's okay. So the 5% Club, they promote earning and learning opportunities. And why is it essential for enabling learners across organisations at all levels to be able to switch careers?
I think Kate summarised some really great examples there. And I think if we look at the workplace today, we all know the statistic that's been bandied around since COVID about the 50+ age group who've been disappearing from the workforce. That age group as well has probably had the least opportunity for widespread educational and development opportunities. So Kate alluded to the fact that sometimes it's an opportunity for someone to gain a formal qualification. I mean, that's a very obvious thing. But also Jagdeep was saying about digital skills, and even amongst younger people from lower socioeconomic backgrounds. So we might think young people are all fully digital and they know 100 times more than us. So that might be true for me. But also people just don't always get an opportunity and end up in the workplace without qualifications and skills in areas that they would like to move into. So that's key. I think as Kate alluded to, it's enhancing skills, it's recognition, it's careers prospects, it's portable skills. And there is the whole lifelong learning piece. None of us are going to enter the workplace with a qualification or just do one in an earn and learn scenario and be set up for our career. We just know the world is a very fast moving place, and giving people an opportunity through earn and learn to stay relevant, stay up to date, have portable skills, I just think is key.
Yeah, some brilliant points there, Joe. It's really, really interesting, isn't it? I mean, the idea of career changing is probably far more common now and will be in the future than perhaps it has been in the past.
Yeah. The reskill upskill piece is huge. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. Thanks, Jill. That's great. And so, Jagdeep, if I can come to you for a second, where do you see apprenticeships playing a part in enabling career changing? And are there additional benefits to help people perhaps from diverse backgrounds that we can highlight while we're having the conversation now?
Thank you, Phil. Yeah, some real great examples there by Kay, and it's really sort of gratifying to see that organisations are really doing something around apprenticeships, and obviously sort of looking at the demographics and the diversity element. That's really, really reassuring. So great to hear that. So apprenticeships can play a significant role in enabling careers by providing individuals with the opportunity to learn new skills, gain practical experience in a specific industry. So some of the ways, you get hands-on learning. Apprenticeships emphasize practical on-the-job training, allowing individuals to acquire new skills in that actual sort of real-world work environment. So this hands-on learning approach is particularly valuable for those looking to transition into new careers. And I think there's a wide variety of careers that individuals are looking at, and it's a wide variety of roles that you will have in your sort of working lifetime. It's that industry relevance. So apprenticeships can often design really in collaboration with the industry partners, and this is really, really important with the employer and the industry partners, ensuring that the skills they are taught directly are relevant to the needs of the job market, particularly now with this sort of tight job market as well. And this can be beneficial for individuals seeking to switch careers as they gain expertise in that. That's basically what's in demand in terms of the employment market. I think Jill also alluded to sort of that earning while learning, so that's really, really important. And I think that's very much important in terms of the current economic climate as well. So, apprenticeships are actually contributing positively to the current economic climate in terms of sort of paying and tax, etc., but also reducing that skills gap as well while they're earning and learning. And then that networking opportunity. So apprenticeships can often, provide an opportunity to build a network within the industry and promote apprenticeships as well. So there's the Association of Apprenticeships, but there's also the Multicultural Apprentice Network that specifically is a forum and a platform for multicultural apprentices to network with each other and share best practice. And that network can be valuable for career changes as they connect with professionals who can provide guidance, mentorships, and potential job opportunities as well. But how with regards to your question around sort of those individuals from a diverse background, it really pushes that sort of inclusivity. And the Multicultural Apprenticeship Alliance is around sort of our 3 pillars are formed on education, engagement, and advocacy and policy. So we want to look through how can we educate and engage the multicultural community in terms of the positivities around apprenticeships. There's addressing that inequality. So apprenticeship can be the tool for addressing inequalities in the workforce as well. And also trying to mirror the sort of demographics of the diversity of the area that individuals are working in. Diversity of perspectives as well. I think this is really key. So a diverse workforce brings a variety of perspectives and ideas, which can be beneficial for the business and industry. And apprenticeships that encourage diversity contribute to a more dynamic work environment and obviously better outputs as well. And that's skills development as well. So apprenticeships focus on skill development, allowing individuals from diverse backgrounds to acquire specific skills needed for the particular job. And it's important to note that the effectiveness of apprenticeships is enabled career changing and promoting diversity can be very depending on the design of the programs. So it's very key in terms of that employer engagement and industry practices and regional factors as well. So there's that real sort of key around where the impacts are geographically also.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? The localism factor, the sort of place-based factor of apprenticeships can be really important, particularly for certain communities, can't it? Where you've got employers are dominant in certain spaces. So I think that's a fantastic point. I really like the point about networking and the fact that, you know, it's employer-led. We know it should always be employer-led, but those employers enable networking for people coming from different communities and different backgrounds, and that network opens up opportunities. Like I know the Multicultural Apprenticeship Alliance, you know, pushes the opening of opportunities for people. That's a fantastic set of points there, Jagdeep. Thank you for that. I just wanted to maybe add a reflection from the point of view of the Open University, particularly perhaps around healthcare, for example, which is one of the sectors that we've seen is really important to opening up diversity, but also bringing career changes through. We have quite a lot of people do apprenticeships in nursing and social work, for example, and we see where they recruit from local communities, they can gain a very diverse talent pool in those organisations which are very locally centred in healthcare and social care often. But also they're very, very good at getting very high levels of commitment and motivation, because people come onto the apprenticeships often in career change mode. Often they're career changers. They're coming onto the apprenticeships with a high degree of motivation to be in those sectors. And what happens is those employers find that those people coming through that apprenticeship route with that talent pipeline, they've got a very high retention, a very high commitment, and they've got those people then for a very large number of years afterwards. It's probably the same, I assume, in perhaps policing, Kate, for example, as well, where you're bringing people in who once they're in, they're committed to the job. Healthcare and social care certainly have that element once you've gone through the apprenticeship, and then you've got people on very high levels of retention. Great way of bringing in new talent from new communities across organisations and geographies. So I'm just gonna segue neatly onto the third part of our webinar, which is sort of about the next steps. What can we do next? How do we take this forward for different organisations? And Jill, can I hand over to you?
A very good friend of mine has just qualified as a social worker. She's in her 50s and she did her degree with Open University, and she was very impressed. So there we go, an actual real life example. So moving on, as you say, to what we can do. Phil, I'm going to ask you, how can organisations go about putting in place a strategy to identify how career changing can help?
Yeah, okay, thanks, Jill. And that was a great example. Thanks for mentioning that. It's so nice to hear people of a mature age as well being part of the career changes and coming into some of those professions supported by apprenticeships through Open University and others, of course. So in terms of going about, from an organisation point of view, going about putting in place a strategy for career changes, I think one of the first things links back to where we started almost. Organisations need to think very clearly and carefully about what are their skills gaps, what are the things they want to fill, and then actually how will career changes enable them to do that? What and elements of career changes bringing experience with them will enable them to fill their skills gaps. That's going to help organisations think about exactly that type of community and what that community can bring relative to their specific need in that business or that organisation. Once they've done that, I think organisations also need to make sure they're framing their discussion with potential talent and their needs in the context of all ages and all levels. So you've just given a great example of a mature career changer. Obviously, career changing now can happen at much younger ages as well than perhaps it would have done in the past. People are moving careers perhaps in their mid-20s as well and thinking about a different type of career, having had a short space in one career. And I think organisations can think about career changes being all ages and also at all levels, whether it's sort of entry level in terms of early career, or whether it's people at more sort of experience level in terms of more experience in terms of managerial experience or leadership, for example, and so on and so forth. There's that element then of thinking about, if you're targeting career changes as part of your strategy, what is it that those types of individuals are going to want from work? And they're going to want flexibility. They're going to want flexibility in how their job works. They're going to want flexibility in how their learning works through their apprenticeship. So, for example, the way the Open University works and the way our approach is structured around online delivery of academic content enables people on apprenticeships to have that academic part done through an online element, which is 24/7 to a large degree. And of course, they have the practical training on their own courses. So there's an element of thinking about what those individuals are going to want in terms of their career change desires, and actually how you then meet that with the apprenticeships that you're offering and the way that you're going about doing learning. And finally, I think there's a focus element where the organisations need to think, as part of their skills gap planning, we're bringing people in to develop them for our skills gaps. They're not ready now on recruitment. And often people will think about recruiting talent to try and get the best they can get in terms of ready now. But I think what apprenticeships give us is an opportunity, again, at all ages and all levels, to bring in people, career changers and others, who we can accept bring some fantastic experience and life experience and other industry career experience. And can we bring them in, and they're not ready now, but can we build them towards our skills gap in a 2, 3 or 4 year period? And I think that's a fantastic way of building a strategy for future skills gaps.
Brilliant. Thanks, Phil. Jagdeep, have you got any other additional thoughts on how to identify the right talent cohorts?
Yeah, as Phil, alluded to, in terms of the strategy, has to be right. But just sort of 3 or 4 points, or 4 or 5 points in terms of how to target the right talent cohorts. So one is around sort of industry analysis. So conduct a thorough analysis of the industry's current and future skills needs. So it's very important to be fully aware of where the skills gaps are and what industry is actually saying. Engage with employers. So employer engagement is really, really key. So you can actually work with employers to ensure that you're working and building this apprenticeship program that's specific to the employer's needs, but also reducing the skills gaps as well within that area. Establish partnerships with companies willing to provide apprenticeship opportunities as well around that sort of employer engagement. There's that demographic analysis as well. So just going back to that sort of equity of opportunity and inequalities. So analyze the demographic characteristics of the local and target population, and identify groups that might be underrepresented in the industry, and how do you engage with those underrepresented and marginalized groups as well. Educational opportunities, to collaborate with educational institutions, including schools, colleges, so getting the word out very, very early, and getting the message out around how important and how great apprenticeships actually are, and what a great alternative they are to sort of FE and further education and higher education. And then community outreach, again, how do you engage with these individuals? So engage with outreach efforts to raise awareness of apprenticeship opportunities. Diversity and inclusivity strategies as well are really, really important in terms of how do you engage and how do you target these marginalized communities and educate them around apprenticeships. Customized programs, so tailor apprenticeship programs to address the unique needs of the different talent cohorts. Having that feedback mechanism as well. So establish mechanisms for ongoing feedback from employers, apprentices and educational partners. So this is very much a partnership approach really in terms of how you engage and attract the sort of top talent in apprenticeships. And adaptability, so be adaptable and responsive to changes in the labour market and industry needs. And by combining sort of industry insights, employer collaboration, community engagement and commitment to diversity and inclusion, I think that's the way real forward for sort of engaging with marginalised communities within apprenticeships. And can I just have one little plug really? So we are specifically along the lines really in terms of how to attract and engage sort of the top talent in apprenticeships. So the Multicultural Apprenticeship Alliance is having our apprenticeship branding conference on the 11th of June, which is specifically around attracting and engaging the top talent in apprenticeships. So we're working with a lot of industry leaders, a lot of employers around this subject. So so it's very, very pertinent at the moment, Jill.
Brilliant. Thanks, Jagdeep. And gosh, there was a lot in what you just rattled through there. So I'm sure it'll be really useful for people to sign up to that conference and delve more deeply into lots of those areas. Fantastic. Kate, would you like to run through what anything further about the North Yorkshire strategy and vision in this area?
Certainly, I'm taking notes, don't worry.
Yeah, we all are.
Yeah. So it's really topical for us at the moment because it is something that we are currently working on. So that's why I'm taking notes. I love the networking ideas, getting the apprentices to obviously promote it themselves as well. And yeah, we'll be looking out for the Multicultural Alliance information coming out as well. But we're currently working really hard on our talent spotting and talent management tools because it's something that's been in the pipeline for a long time, but not something that we've fully embedded. So that is something that we are currently working on. So 2024 for us is got to be the year where we've got to start looking more at our talent spotting and how we actually manage talent across all the organisations that we work for, including our apprentices as well. And we've also got a big ambition for 2024 as well to bring in an apprenticeship academy, which is something that is one of the things that we are wanting to promote, because we do have a number of people working on apprentices. So when we were talking about like having cohorts and doing like additional training with them, and bringing them together, and definitely that networking is something that we really want to promote across our apprentices so they can learn from each other. They're not on their own. We're working really hard on retention as well at the moment. So we've got a lot of work going on around retention. So getting that first entrance into the organisation right, to be able to then maintain people's obviously skills, abilities, development, to then maintain them as an employee as well, and keep them within the organisation. So we're doing a lot of work around that at the moment as well, which obviously links into getting apprentices in, making sure we look after them, they're treated as fairly and equally as they should be within the organisation as well. So all of this will hopefully help us enhance what we're already doing, but obviously develop people further and make sure that we obviously have the right people in the right roles. We're spotting that talent early, because yes, people will join the organisation without the right skills, but do you know what, if they've got something about them and we really want to tap into that, we need to work with them more closely and highlight them into our talent pools. So it all sounds amazing, and I'm sure it will all come off, I'm hoping, but it is something that we're definitely looking at as well. And we've also got some of our police constables who have gone down the PCDA route, so have completed their degrees and coming to the end of their probation. They are already looking at the next step of their career ladder and looking towards progression to sergeants. So that's something that obviously has helped with that. And just going back to backgrounds as well, I think Phil mentioned like people coming in from all sorts of different backgrounds at different ages. We have such a wide range of people join the organisation across police and fire, and in obviously staff roles as well, that have come from all different walks of life, and it just brings so much more to organisations. So it's definitely worth tapping into some different industries and different backgrounds and knowing where people's work life experience comes into it as well. So that was it.
Brilliant. Thank you, Kate. And Phil, you alluded early on to that about the flexibility piece.
Yep.
Why is this particularly important for learners across all levels?
Yeah, and it's interesting because I think Kate just made the point at the end there, about the whole range of different types of people that organisations are attracting into their apprenticeships, and particularly career changes as well. But and that's the point about flexibility, that if you want to attract a very wide range of talent from lots of different communities, you need to be flexible in how you deliver your apprenticeships and how you think about building that talent towards the skills gaps. So, for example, we know that in the Open University model, where we, as I said, have academic content delivered online through online tutorials, online content that they can access 24/7 as well, both coterminous at the same time and also offline, as it were. We know that works for people who have lots of caring responsibilities, whether it's children or other caring responsibilities. We know that it works for people who perhaps are working in different roles. Some people have 2 jobs, and they manage their life around those types of things. But also people have very different expectations at different ages, different experiences in terms of their career and their lives. The flexibility also enables the model to reach remote and rural communities, for example. So again, Kate mentioned you've got an area like North Yorkshire where you've got large geographical areas, some very remote rural areas, and also some cities and towns and so on as well. So you need to reach all of those things, and you need a model that maximizes flexibility to enable that to work for the learners, as it were. And of course, if you maximize flexibility, then what you're doing is you're effectively maximizing the ability to suit the audience of talent that you're trying to attract. And you're more likely, therefore, to attract and retain that talent if that flexibility plays to the particular way they want to go about their learning and about building their career and building their skills gaps. It is quite important to match the flexibility with a targeted approach. So if you're trying to attract people from particular talent groups and particular communities, it's important, as we said at the beginning, to have a strategy for that and to think about how you have a specific targeted approach to that community to some extent. You can't do that for every type of experience and community, but you can certainly do it in chunks. So for example, we work with a number of organizations that have a particular attraction to ex-military, for example, people coming out of the military, and they might target certain types of flexibility of their approach to ex-military, for example. Obviously, lots of other organizations, I mentioned health and social care earlier, try and attack directly from their local communities and particular types of community that might be underrepresented in the organization. And you can adapt your approach to be more flexible specifically towards certain types of community in order to make sure that you're attracting the best talent from those communities into your organization. So it does need a bit of thought, but if you maximize flexibility, you're going to maximize success in your talent attraction.
Brilliant. Thanks, Phil. Kate, returning to you, I believe the first 2 cohorts of the police officer degree apprenticeships have just graduated, I won't use the acronym, through the partnership with the Open University. What impact have you seen them making on local communities?
So yeah, that's very true. Yeah, we've just had our first 2 cohorts of police officers achieve their qualifications and coming to the end of their probationary period. So these officers have obviously graduated with that underpinning core attributes needed to meet the future demand. And we've all talked about, haven't we, about that future demand. Things are changing, workplaces are changing, the way we work is changing, everything is at the moment. So the reason behind that, and the reason behind obviously bringing that in, them students, or ex-students as they are now, have got them critical thinking skills, analysis, communication skills, all of the things that they will need to be a competent and valuable police officer, obviously serving the community, which is a big part of what we do. It's ultimately what the emergency services are here for. We're here for the community. They've got practical problem solving skills as well. That's something that they've done throughout their qualifications and throughout their degree, and all of them give them more autonomy to act with discretion on the front line, so they can make them decisions. They've got all the skills, all the knowledge behind them decisions. They make rational decisions. They make sound judgment as well, which obviously helps the communities that we serve. It also helps with them gaining evidence and the investigation point of view, which obviously then helps our victims, which again is another big part of policing, is been victim-led and victim-focused. So making sure that we're dealing with the victims, giving them the best possible level of service that they can expect. And I don't think it's a big secret that policing is always under the spotlight, and things get into the national press. So through having these students out on the street and in the community, it shows that we have got professional, degree educated, and I'm not saying any other police officers aren't professional, but we've got people out on the streets who've got them degrees behind them, and have that level of education, which instills public confidence in the policing that we are doing. And just a few of the things that they've actually done. So a lot of the degree that they do looks at why people commit crime. And then the changing nature of crimes as well. So obviously we've mentioned about the digital age, and a lot of our crimes are now going online, so they're not committed face to face. So looking at that as well, looking at how we can prevent crime, which is a massive thing. So if we can put prevention measures in place, we can stop people becoming victims, which is obviously the ultimate aim behind evidence-based policing and looking at what we can do to prevent crimes. They also reflect on their own learning, so take a bit of personal responsibility as well. So they will know when they've got skills gaps and knowledge gaps, and they will be able to highlight them through the work that they've done, which then obviously helps the public in maintaining obviously their skills and knowledge. They've got time management skills as well, so they'll be able to carry out thorough investigations within a timescale, so that people aren't left waiting to hear what's happening, and knowledge of partner agencies as well, so knowing when we need to get other agencies involved in certain situations, and the ability to assess risk and threat, which is a massive thing when dealing with conflict as well. So all of the skills that they've learned throughout their degree, they've now got that the skills and knowledge and behaviours to be able to take that forward out into the public, which, like I say, that is what we're here for as an emergency service. The public are the foremost, forefront in everything that we do. And some of the behaviours that they've gone out with is taking accountability. So taking accountability for their work, their actions, professional integrity, which is a massive thing in policing, with you think of all the powers that they've got behind them as well. Being emotionally aware as well, and emotionally astute to obviously how people are feeling, and that understanding nature. Being curious, which is a massive thing from a police officer. We all need to have that bit of a curiosity, and innovation as well. Being collaborative, which ties in with partner agency working, and supportive and inspirational leading, which is obviously looking at our next leaders of the future. So the ones that have just qualified will hopefully be our next sergeants and up the ranks for the future.
Wow, fantastic! Thanks, Kate. There's a lot in there as well, isn't there? More than you might think. Phil, is there anything further you want to add about the OU's impact through apprenticeships across other organisations and sectors?
Yeah, thanks, Jill. I mean, Kate's just given a fantastic description there of the way that the policing apprenticeship is focused entirely on what's needed from police officers, and it's a great description of how people are built through the skill levels to get to where they need to get to. It's a very similar thing in nursing and social work, which I mentioned earlier, and the Open University is the largest provider of nursing apprenticeships in England, and that's a very similar, the description that Kate gave, you could apply that type of journey description to the way that nursing and social work in terms of those professions also work through an apprenticeship. It's very successfully done. The other thing the Open University does, of course, it works with businesses in all industries. So we're actually doing quite a lot of apprenticeships around things like digital skills, things like systems thinking, which is a relatively new area where people are, sort of through their apprenticeship understand how complex systems work within and across organisations, which is a very good apprenticeship, particularly for those perhaps that are moving further up in their careers. But also, of course, there's management and leadership apprenticeships, and there's degree level management and leadership apprenticeships. There's also postgraduate level management and degree level apprenticeships, and they're very popular with lots of different industries, especially where they can be tailored slightly to that industry and that particular environment, and they can wrap around the apprenticeship some of the experiences they want their cohorts to have around their own industry. And we have experience in those types of things across all industries. Things like people who work for Ford, for example, people who work for big companies like Deloitte, IBM, people like that are actually buying these apprenticeships and engaging in these apprenticeships. But also lots and lots and lots of SMEs, small medium enterprises, are also using levy transfer or taking opportunities of the apprenticeships to actually develop their people, both new entrants, as we say, all ages, all levels, new entrants right through to career changers and more mature learners as well. Again, going back to the point we made earlier, the opportunity of a flexible approach to learning attracts people from more diverse communities, people from lots of different backgrounds and different experiences, and particularly relevant to career changers who want a different approach to the learning they experience.
Brilliant. Thank you, Phil. And I think what strikes me of listening to this, the club exists to inspire positive action for increased and accessible workplace learning. And today's event has been really full of how that operates in reality. The other fact that struck me about it as well is if it's about evidence-based decisions. I think Jagdeep was talking about this. You need analysis. You need to analyse what's happening. And whilst we confer a more prestigious level of membership of platinum, gold, silver and bronze through our employer audit, what underpins that is a detailed report picking up on so many of the things we talked about today, which gives employees the information to see where they are, what they need to change to help them to get where they want to be. And those things are obviously more complex than that. But I think it's really important to just take stock and see what you can do differently, what you can change. It was a fantastic example. Thank you. I'll hand back to you, Phil.
Thank you, Jill. That's brilliant summary as well there. Some of the fantastic work done by the 5% Club, which is well worth promoting and taking a look at if people have the opportunity. So this apprenticeship webinar has been for the National Apprenticeship Week 2024, which we're all looking really forward to experiencing. I'm just going to go around our panel here and just ask one last question, which is, what are you most looking forward to from the National Apprenticeship Week 2024? There's so much we could say about that. I'm going to start with Jagdeep. I'm going to come to you first. So Jagdeep, what are you most looking forward to?
So it's all the activity really. I mean, the buzz around apprenticeships during National Apprenticeship Week. It's fabulous to see all the activity that's happening and the webinars and and things such as that, really. Careers fairs. So we have our own festival of apprenticeships as well. That's going on online. And there's so much activity and buzz to really promote that real sort of apprenticeships, but also the engaging with other communities as well, and underrepresented and marginalised communities, really push social mobility, equity, inclusivity and diversity in apprenticeships. That's what I'm really looking forward to.
Fantastic. Thanks, Jagdeep. I love that. And moving around, I'll go Kate, you're next. What are you looking forward to?
Thank you very much, Phil. I think Jagdeep's summed it up perfectly there. But I think from our point of view, it's getting the word out there that this is an option. And it's an option that is, like you say, it's flexible, earning while you learn, all of them like key things that really sell apprenticeships. I'm looking forward to this going out as well, and hopeful that obviously we've all done a really good job, then it's got to help other people as well. So that's something to look forward to. And just showing that it actually does make a difference, and we are making a difference to people's careers, people's developments, people's progression, all them different things that apprenticeships bring, whether it's a new apprentice into an organisation or whether it's investing in your existing people.
Fantastic. Thank you, Kate. Appreciate it. And last but not least, Jill.
I think often, we all, and everyone probably on this event today, will think, yes, and we're all in that world. What I love about National Apprenticeship Week is apprenticeships are brought into the wider arena. I think it's something already been alluded to. The fact that people who never think about apprenticeships or don't know much about them get to hear about them and see them showcased, whether that's on national TV or in the press or on the radio. And I think that's fantastic that it's brought into that more general societal discussion. That's a fantastic achievement for it.
Brilliant. Thank you, Jill. You are so right that the fact that National Apprenticeship Week brings a focus to apprenticeships is such a great thing. It gives all the opportunities in it to bring to the fore some of the things we've been talking about today. So I'd just like to finish by saying thank you to Jill, Kate, Jagdeep. Thank you very much. It's been a fantastic webinar. We really hope you enjoy watching the webinar, and of course, please do follow up with any of us and our organisations if anything we've said has stimulated some interest and has been very interesting for you. Enjoy National Apprenticeship Week. Thank you.